Good morning and welcome to the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Today is the Thursday, the 22nd of October of 2020. I am your host. I am Kurt. I'm glad to have you tune in this morning. If you're coming in on Rumble, if you're coming in on YouTube or on the podcast, by all means, welcome aboard. Hope you're doing well today. Today I wanted to talk about a subject of a blog post, obviously, and it was the title of the blog post was Christianity, Standards and Principles. And I can sum things up really quickly, but I'm going to hold off on doing that for just a minute. What I want to do is kind of explain something that I think a lot of people are missing at this point. And that thing is this. People have, for a very long time, worked out ways that they believed, that they considered things worked, and so forth. And there's always room when an individual does that, for them to adjust their perspective over the course of time. That's something that you expect is probably going to happen with most people. It's just something we know is very likely, right? Somebody's going to decide that this is the way to do things. For example, I used to be one of those people who sped around like a madman when I was driving, and I came to the conclusion that that really wasn't a great idea for a variety of reasons, not the least of which being that it makes you unpredictable, and so people around you have to try and figure out how to adjust to your way of driving. So I'm very consistent in the way I do that these days. Well, that's normal personal beliefs, and that's fine and great, right? Comparatively, though, there are things that the ostensible origins of are not natural. They are, quote, supernatural. This is the way people will put it. And you'll hear a bunch of different groups of people who will espouse this idea about what they believe. So, Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, and various others believe in the... With Buddhists, it's a little bit sort of dicier, a little bit more interesting to explain. But with most of them, what happens is they have this higher power in which they believe. They hold that this higher power exists and that this higher power passes down not laws necessarily, it can be laws, but certainly directions for how to live life and explanations of what life is and so forth from on high, from their position above that which is natural, right? Christianity is no exception to this, obviously. In fact, they're a really good example of this. And here's the thing. Is it possible for those directions to change over time? Well, the argument is that between what happened with the Jews and what happened with the Christians, they believe in ostensibly the same God, right? Yet they were told they were to behave and so forth. Let's just put it this way. You can at least make the argument that they live under different covenants, that they're not under the same agreement with that God. Okay? That said, though, there is a tendency to look at that and try and say that as a result, it's possible for something that's pretty much written on the page to change. Now, let's be fair. It's very obvious that people can get things wrong. They have. In my mind, the Crusades, regardless their intent to do right, were, at least in some part, I believe, incorrect in the way things were handled. The Spanish Inquisition, the same, and any number of other things. So it's not that people don't get things wrong, and I'm not trying to say that. But what I am saying is this. Just because people can get things wrong doesn't mean something stops meaning what it means and stops saying what it says. So, by way of example, there are a bunch of people out there who claim to be homosexual, who claim to be gay, who claim to love and want sexual relations with people of the same sex as themselves. That's the easiest way I know to explain it. The fact of the matter is there are multiple places in the Bible in which it speaks about this, and in no place that it speaks about this is it a positive or reasonably considered thing. It is considered, in fact, to be sinful in nature. Okay. Now, I have to throw in my disclaimer here because a lot of people, when they hear that, go, oh, here we go. Well, let me help you to understand. The fact that something is sinful for the Christian doesn't mean we toss rocks at you. It doesn't mean we even, toss bad words at you. You may think sinful is a bad word. It's a measurement tool. It is a way to say somebody has fallen short of an expectation, and that's it. Okay? Now, between you and God, that's an entirely different thing. But between you and me, the reality is I'm not going to throw rocks at you. I'm not going to tell you what a horrible, repugnant human being you are. I'm not going to tell you that you can't live your life largely as you choose to do so. Obviously, you have the concerns over whether or not something you're doing is legal or people are going to accept it. But the point is, from my perspective, if you choose to be gay, that's totally your right, as far as I'm concerned. I don't agree with you. I don't believe what you're doing is correct, and I do believe it is sinful. Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that if that's true, it's also true that Christianity cannot support the idea of unions between marriages, between people of the same sex. It can't do that. It has no place for that. The idea that those people are acting sexually, is sinful when they do so with another human being that is of the same sex. Makes it so that there's just no way that you could talk about marriage under such a circumstance, since that's the basis for marriage, is the creation of family, as it were, right? And the propagation of the species, go forth and multiply, right? So now, let's be clear on a couple of things. That said, what I'm not saying, let me not speak for anybody else, let me just speak for myself. What I'm not saying is that Christianity by necessity ought to be ensconced in law. As it happens in the United States, there's a strong argument for the fact that the moral underpinning of the United States happens to be Christianity. That said, there's not a requirement for it to be ensconced in law. There's no requirement for that. And in fact, I argue that marriage, that legal marriage and Christian marriage are not the same thing. If they were, how could Jews, how could Islamic folks, how could atheists get married in the legal sense? So I don't believe that it's fair to say that they're the same thing. I don't really believe that the law ought to have any involvement in marriage, even though I understand that there are things like division of assets, and child care and so forth that figure in that. I don't think that's something that you have to determine through legality. You can just do legal guardianship. You can just do legal ownership of things, and you can argue that two people have joint ownership and that two people have joint guardianship, or that one person has a unique guardianship or whatever. So I don't think you need to do that from a legal perspective, right? In all of this, the point is this, though. Christianity doesn't change because people want it to. So the Pope says gay marriage is fine. Well, that's fine. The Pope isn't the arbiter of what the Bible says about being gay and about Christian marriage. He's just not. And that's not just the Pope. That's true. I don't care what group you are, pastor, priest, preacher, whatever you happen to call them. I don't care what group you're among. They're not the arbiter of that. Government is not the arbiter of that, cannot be the arbiter of that. And the fact that some person, myself included, says that something is true or false about what Christianity says, what the doctrines and tenets of Christianity say, the standards and principles of Christianity are, the fact that somebody says that they're this as opposed to that, that's not something you should take away from that person. You should go and look for yourself and find out what your beliefs say, or what a particular given individual set of beliefs say. And that should be in line with, in my view, the scripture and the indwelling of the Spirit of God in a given individual. All right, I'm about out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off very quickly here. I just wanted to wish you a good day. I wanted to hope to see you again on tomorrow. That would be Friday, the 23rd of October of 2020. Again, we're into the fall weather and things seem to be looking okay. We're doing a little bit more cloudiness than I'd like, but that's life, and we've actually had really pleasant temperatures here in my area. I hope you are doing well. I hope things are going good for you. We're headed really quickly into the weekend, and I hope you have a good weekend, though I should see you before that. Thanks again for listening, whether you're on YouTube, Rumble, or you're on the podcast, which I know I haven't really done a great job of promoting. I will hopefully see you again tomorrow. Hope you have a great, great day. Thanks for watching this video. Remember that you can like the video on YouTube and you can give me a rumble on Rumble if you want to do that. Of course, you can also subscribe to my channel on both YouTube and Rumble. The channel would be Kurt's Religion and Politics. If you want to see more of my content, you can go to various places. The first of those places would be my blog. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. blogs.kpschubert.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Parler or Minds.com, you can look for my handle. I am at kpschubert. That is at kpschubert. You can also see my Facebook page. That also is Kurt's Religion and Politics. I have obviously a YouTube and a Rumble account. My page, my channels on those accounts, pages, channels, whatever you want to call them, is Kurt's Religion and Politics. I have also, if you want to support me, a Patreon account. I am Kurt's Religion and Politics there. Thank you for looking at my stuff. Remember, you can subscribe. Remember, you can click notifications on the YouTube to make sure you're notified for new content. Again, thanks for coming to visit my channel. Thanks for watching this video, and you have a great day.